one-to-one, and I'll start with Dave.
I'm Dave Grossman. I'm at Maplewood Richmond Heights School District. We started the one-to-one laptop program about 9 years ago. I think at that point in time, there's only like 2 or 3 around in the city that were doing that. We have pretty much one-to-one from about 12 all the way down to around 6, 5th grade has some devices and so forth down there. We're roughly about 600 to 650 to 700 depending on enrollment, which has changed drastically in the past few years.
Yep. Bob Dillon, Director of Technology here in Afton. We've brand new to our one-to-one rollout, so this is in year 1 for 800 devices that are here at the high school. I think we hope that this becomes a middle school initiative at some point in time. We don't know when that is, but we think that's the next phase of this. We've seen it successful at Maplewood, so we think that middle schoolers can handle having those at home 24 hours a day. And really, the thing that has made ours most successful, I think, is that we really are thinking of this as technology integration and not just having more technology. What that means and really thinking about the data surrounding that. So that's what's made ours successful.
Mike Cratchit, the Director of Instructional Technology for the Lutheran High School Association, which encompasses Lutheran High School North and Lutheran High School South. This is just a couple minutes from here. We're in the 3rd year of the one-to-one iPad program. And if I had to mention one thing that's contributed to success, it's an emphasis on working with teachers one-to-one.
My name is Stephen Lee with Melville School District. We are in, I'd say, year 3.5 of our implementation. We did a 1-year pilot with 2 classrooms, and then we took what we learned there and accelerated it into all freshmen, followed by all sophomores. It kept rolling up. We have about 85% of our high school students with laptops, and that's about almost 4,000 devices out there in the one-to-one program going on. So I don't know.
Thank you. Rich Wilson, Director of Technology out of Winsfield School District. This is our 4th school year with our one-to-one program. It is just at our 3 high schools, grades 9, 10, 11, 12. And so we have 3 high schools, which about 4,200 students and growing. So all of our students have devices. We started off with Acer netbooks for a couple years with Windows 7 Professional. Last year we started transitioning over to Chromebooks for various reasons, which I'm sure we'll touch on. Last year and this year with Chromebooks, we started phasing out the netbooks, and we only have 1 grade level 10th graders with the netbooks at this time. So that's kind of where we're at.
I'm Bill Niemeyer with Orchard Farm in St. Charles, and we have the devices. We have not rolled them out to the kids yet. We did a pilot last year, and we piloted the iPad, a laptop, and a Chromebook. And after surveying the students, and we selected the Chromebook. So as soon as our cases come in, the students will receive their Dell Chromebooks. And my piece of advice on the introduction level would be to, I think our success so far, just in selecting the devices and coming up with all the documentation, is visiting some other schools, seeing how their successes, what their challenges were, and trying to mesh similar school districts into our program. But we're excited. So the kids are still, we have a couple classrooms that are using the Chromebooks, and they seem to work really well for us.
I'm Adam Jasinski. I'm the Solutions Architect for Afton Schools, so I get to work with Bob and Manuel. Like Bob said, we're one-to-one Chromebooks at the high school. This is our 1st year, and before all the other stuff happened, what we had to do was come in. We did 10 years worth of upgrades in about a year, and that was on my shoulders, and it was a good time. Bob worked me to death, but it's all right. So I do most of the technical side of the house, and we're loving the Chromebooks.
Thank you. One of the things that often comes up when we talk one-to-one is funding revenue. So I'm going to let anyone who wants to jump in and talk about where you find money. What was the shift that had to be made,
How did it all come about? Let's start that.
I'll start.
Great. Steve.
In Melville, we had, it was a top-down decision. We had a superintendent who wanted to move the district forward. We had a board that was concerned. We had, living in a conservative area, was concerned we had too high a balances in our accounts, and they planned to do a spin down to bring it down percentage-wise on our balances. One of the things identified was technology. So we used that as one of the main pieces of emphasis as we went forward. So it was interesting in how that came about. And as a table turned, suddenly we have a new CFO who's like worried that we have a $5 million deficit coming. So it'll be interesting as we get past the fourth year, what our, how our one-to-one program is going to transition. What's going to keep the program sustained going forward.
I had a chance to listen to the president speak today. There were 100 superintendents from around the country that were at the White House today talking about future-ready schools, and I heard him say that we spend $8 billion a year on textbooks. And so he was encouraging folks to think through what that would look like. So I don't know that all of our funding came from that area, but certainly we've been rethinking over the last 2 or 3 years how we're spending those types of resources, and then how curriculum resources and technical resources feel like they're under the same umbrella. So there's some creative thinking around that for us.
Back in 2010, we got like a private donor that donated like $500,000 that primarily went to technology. It was something that we didn't want to focus at the high school, but we spread out across the district, and we talking with the superintendent, the curriculum superintendent at that time, I said, every year, we've been spending this amount of money on, projectors and smart boards that we have in all of our classrooms in our district. And basically, what we looked at was, taking that donation, funding that project, and taking that money and helping to kickstart, at least that first year for our one-to-one. When we rolled out our one-to-one, we started off with 9th graders the first year, and the second year we had 9th and 10th grade students with devices, and the third year we had all students, which was last year, 9 through 12 with all devices this year. And then really our sustainability plan is that every year we're looking at purchasing, one grade level, which is about 1,100 students a year worth of devices, replacing the older devices with the new ones. Then we're starting actually this year right now, taking some of the older devices and then rolling those down to the lower grade levels, not for a one-to-one, but just more student computers in classrooms or mobile carts. So it really starts with the vision, like we touched on really at the top with the superintendents. I mean, I hate to say it's kind of where there's a will, there's a way almost.
Being a parochial school, we probably have some different options. We started with a $400,000 grant that we got to upgrade our infrastructure and the initial purchase of iPads. And then we charged each student a $200 technology fee to sustain the program. And in the future, we haven't decided on when yet. We'll probably go to when we come to the business out. We need to purchase this device. These will be the choices that you have. One thing that we found out that we were definitely not sure about 3 years ago was the real concerns. Okay, how long are these things going to be viable? And some people thought they might only be viable for 2 years, but that has really not been a problem. This is the third year. The ones that they had, the juniors had and freshmen still work fine, and I assume they're still going to work fine next year.
And that's one of the things I think you got to really think about coming into funding is that you really got to project across the board, not just for the device, project for your infrastructure, project wireless, your whole entire campus. I mean, you really have to think that through and look at it 5 years ahead. We've done this 9 years, and constantly, what's the next device that we're going to go to? Are we sticking with Apple? Apple's making it sometimes difficult. And then, fortunately enough, Google wholeheartedly adopted education. I think they really, in it is this year, you can just see they were the largest vendor in the entire place. So that's nice, and it seems like a lot of people are going to Chromebooks. it's a lot easier to manage. But thinking as a one-to-one across the board, you really have to do those projections and really think about life cycles of everything, not just the device, but your projectors, your smart boards, your TVs, that kind of thing.
At Orchard Farm, we did a needs assessment last year, which kind of came along with a new superintendent. And the results of that needs assessment, showed that there was a lot of aging equipment, things that we kind of just got by with. We weren't spending a lot of money on. We're kind of in a lean few years. Everybody's concerned about budgets, but it's similar to Melville. We're sitting on a lot of balances. So really, it was kind of carte blanche. We created a plan, explained what we wanted to have happen, and put it in the budget. Over the past few years, during these lean years, we've done some creative things with the textbooks that I don't think have impacted students in a very positive way in terms of classroom sharing textbooks, resources, or we'd buy licenses for them online and have a classroom set. Some things that just trying to stretch that dollar. But in our district, for the 500 Chromebooks and cases, and it was really about $160,000. With that being said, we also had to purchase, access points, update our switches, and the list went on and on. You had to have the infrastructure on the back end to support the devices. So that took a lot of time. Kind of like Adam said, you kind of have to make all the magic happen behind the scenes, and really none of that equipment is, it's cheap. It requires a lot of bandwidth. But those are things you have to kind of plan for. And so in our district, in summary, we had the balances, and they just made the decision to purchase them. And our superintendents made the decision that we're going to roll the devices every year. Freshmen coming in, our plan is just to buy the whole freshman class new devices, and then those kids will keep their device from year to year. And we're kind of thinking, they're hoping that these Dell Chromebook 11s will last about 3 years, and then each year, so that the seniors that have their devices that are new right now, they'll use them from January through May, and then in August. We'll take, for us, it's about 100, 120 Chromebooks, and we'll put them in carts, take them down to middle school, and let the classes, we'll probably put one in each grade level. It's kind of our plan.
I think you have to be somewhat nimble. We're Chromebooks right now, but who knows what's going to be out in 2 years? No idea. Apple may release the next greatest thing that, kills Chromebooks. You have to be willing to jump in and say, Chromebooks are great, but maybe we'll try a classroom of this and see if it works better for us. You just have to be willing to take those risks and not, just stick with something and go with it. Because, 2 years ago, Chromebooks, just came out. And a lot of people just kind of put them aside and think anything about them. And now they're blowing up with the New York City public schools. Their entire school district is going Chromebooks now. So, they're blowing up big, but, will they always be the big thing? Probably not.
There's your price like that.
Right. But and to what said down there is, infrastructure is a big deal, and you need to upgrade it, but you need to continually do it. We did new wireless, new everything last year, and our wireless is already antiquated because that's just the way it goes. 2 years from now, it's going to be even more antiquated, and 2 years out. So at some point, yes, you upgrade your wireless, but 5 years from now, you need to look at maybe we need to completely upgrade it again, because as soon as we bought access points, the AC standard came out, which I don't know what that is, but that's the next level. Higher speeds, more access, more devices on an access point. So you have to be willing to look at those things and change them.
Well, and hopefully with E-rate, with the changes in E-rate, hopefully that will help with the new
Help subsidize
category
that a little bit.
2. That's where we're hoping a lot of districts, to kind of upgrade some of our access points. So what we're looking at is, putting the new ACs in our high schools this summer,
Right.
and then taking those old, Arubas, the 105s, 115s, and then put those down at the, elementary level.
So let's talk about plans. From an instructional side, so purposely put these two gentlemen on the right pole. What were some of the things that you did in your instructional plan that have really succeeded? What were the pieces that made this instructional transformation we've been talking about today take hold in your area? Dave?
We started with a grant, and it was through humans. That's what we couldn't have done the one-to-one without that. During that time, it was the entire middle school. We're a very small middle school, about 150 to 170, fluctuates here and there. 14 teachers at that time. We went through about 180 hours of professional development over a period of 2 years. So it was a huge commitment. 4 hours a night, 1 to 2 nights a week, and then summer hours and stuff like that. They had to go through, and they went to technology integration school essentially. That was the foundation for our 1-1. Then we kind of pushed down both sides to the high school and to the elementary school. It was my job as a middle school to work with them, to push into their classroom, to be support for them. It was really hard for me those first couple of years because I had to take care of everything minus like network stuff. I was the tech troubleshooting guy, everything from looking at my smart board doesn't work to, how do I really go and engage people with technology things? So it was really, really hard. And then go through and teach them the modules. So that laid the bedwork or the foundation for that. Instructional can be, the instructional piece is so valuable for teachers. You can't assume that you can just give kids a classroom of computers and then ready, set, go. It doesn't work that way. You have to really spend a lot of time with your teachers, teaching them an actual device. Don't assume that they know it. How to incorporate that into instruction. Another thing that really helped us at the same time is we have a learning management system that we implemented into our school called D2L. Kind of the first at that time. It was kind of like a blackboard, and it's developed more. But while we were doing that, we were actually rewriting our curriculum in UD's format. Bob was there during that time as well. I think that was so helpful for the fact that actually had teachers thinking about how they're going to take these computers and implement technology in their instruction. So we had kind of the perfect storm of things going on during that time.
I would agree that what Dave said here is that it's so important that curriculum writing doesn't sit outside of technology integration thinking. And we have that same perfect storm going on here now. We have a lot of curriculum writing going on. Well, now they can think with that lens of being an integrationist with technology. The other real specific things that I think we've done is one, visited other places that were doing a good job. We went out and saw Rich and what they were doing, and Greg. We talked to Greg and folks at Winsville. They were all like, hey, we haven't figured it out yet, but here's what we're doing, which was very valuable for us to go see somebody else in action. I know Michelle at Hancock, and we've gone up and saw the folks at Leiden in Chicago and the work that they're doing up there. So I think it's really important that you get out and go see other people that are doing their work. The other piece is cultural, like the idea that we always have to be learning. And I appreciate the idea of putting a lot of professional development resources into your teachers, but I also appreciate the fact that as soon as you put 150 hours worth of resources in that person, they go somewhere else. So, right, so that stinks. So you have to really balance that whole idea of let's give everybody all of these hours right now, as opposed to building a culture where continuous learning is happening at the right rate. So I weigh that out all the time. Should we train people up really hard, or should we just build this ongoing, always happening type of learning? And so as more people have moved over to maybe a social media space or as connected learners or come to meetings like this, that real-time learning is happening. And so I think that's been a part of our transition. We're still, we're on a journey. We're hoping to get more people into that space.
I would add to what Bob said there, that, as I said, for me, the working with teachers one-on-one is probably the most valuable piece of moving teachers forward. So in my position, I meet with every teacher. We set goals periodically through the year. We evaluate those goals and see how they've done with them, make more goals, and move on.
Attention everyone, we're going to be setting off the fire alarm shortly. This person is going to test it. Please disregard. Don't have to leave the building.
So whatever it takes, if it's getting in the way of a teacher that they don't feel comfortable explaining the technology, but they plan the lesson, if my time permits it, I'll go into the classroom and, okay, I'll do the technology piece for you this time. You explain the Spanish or whatever, we'll work together on this, and then you can do it the next time. So that's what's worked best for us. What What I would recommend you don't do is, because of circumstances, we tried to obviously give teachers iPads significantly before kids got them, if that makes sense. So one school got them almost a year before. That was Lutheran North. Lutheran South, at first, Lutheran North was going to do this and Lutheran South was going to wait a year. Then the boss decided, I don't think that's good. We'll both do it. So the teachers at Lutheran South got iPads like 2 months before the end of the school year and then into the next year. And that was a little tough on them. So they didn't have as much time to work with them and we got through that.
So at this point, I think we'll move to our questions from the Google moderator. And Greg, would you have to have this in here?
I will, in a second, yes.
All right.
There's a tab. Oh my goodness.
Exactly.
I do. Reloading to see it. All right. I feel like I'm on island.
Bad
Or the
box.
time. It was loading and I was.
Yeah, I didn't know it until I started. I think about it.
That was-
Yeah,
I'm good.
okay,
All right.
go for it.
Popular questions. That's what it says. All right. So it just changed, so I'm not going to read that one. It just changed. So the question is, what are learners doing now that they were not doing before the one-to-one?
We'll start from the second. See if you guys, you heard rumblings before you went to the inspection?
Oh no, you know, I monitor our filter as well, and our students take them home. And they go through a proxy and come back, you know, and get filtered at home just like they do here. And I was actually surprised that I didn't see students just trying to look up Wiz Khalifa videos on YouTube at 12 o'clock at night. There were actually students at 12 o'clock at night, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning that were searching, you know, mitochondria and things like that. I was really impressed to see that, you know, the learning kept going once they left the building. Like, I had this impression that they would just leave and it would be their plaything, right? They wouldn't do any work on it at home, but I see more work at home than I do play, really.
One of the things that I'm surprised to see is how many documents the kids share with the Google Docs. When you look through the list and you see how many kids shared documents across different classes, different friends. So the collaboration piece, probably the thing that surprised me the most. You know, the kids aren't their own individual silos. That they're, you know, back in the day, whenever the kids actually were supposed to work on projects together, you always had the one kid that did the hard work and the other one. So this way you actually see where the kids really do have, you know, the adequate stake in the work that they're doing.
Yeah, we've had Moodle for, I don't know, 5-6 years before our one-to-one. So, you know, teachers already had digital resources out there. We rolled out our one-to-one. You know, there were discussions about printers. You know, do we set up student printers in the library? You know, I guess I made the final decision. Basically, you know, we're not installing any printers for students to be able to access or install on the devices. You know, just because that was kind of part of our digital conversion or digital transition, where, you know, students are collaborating online, they're creating videos online, they're creating, you know, podcasts online, they're sharing those. And the great thing, you know, with Google Apps for Education, you know, students and teachers are able to do that a lot more seamlessly and a lot easier, you know, through Google Drive. And, you know, and it's 24/7, especially with Moodle. When Moodle goes down, you know, on nights or weekends, you know, I have a few teachers that, you know, text me, hey, Moodle's down. So it's just amazing. Or if I get on at nights and weekends just to check Moodle, you know, in the past, our teachers started to transition more to Google Classroom. But Moodle, I was always amazed at how many students and teachers were on there 24/7. So it's really extended, you know, one of the buzzwords, extended the learning day for the students, which has been great. You know, some students that might be, you know, homebound, or they're out sick. We had a teacher not too long ago who was out for like an extended leave and a sub in the classroom, but she was still able, you know, to collaborate. And students were able to turn in their assignments either through Turnitin or through Google Classroom where the teacher was still able to communicate and, you know, collaborate and grade the papers and give feedback to those students while she was still at home on bed rest or whatever it was.
This is one of the things that I would chime in on is, as a tech support person, we find it harder and harder to find a window to make changes. We used to have it at 3 o'clock, the high school was gone, okay, make your change. Then it was okay later in the evening, and then it's become maybe Sunday, you know, from 8 to 12 in the morning, you can find a window to do things. That's been a new challenge with everybody online. The other, one of the things that we did recently, which was, which surprised me, is we opened up YouTube. I heard Bill's challenge to YouTube. We were going to go in as YouTube for EDU, but it wasn't open when we got ready to open it, so we just opened it.
We did the same thing.
And 9 to 12, and I thought, boy, we're going to have parents. I'm a parent, you know, and I deal with it with my kids. We have parents calling, and there's been no pushback at all with that. And now they're discussing whether or not to open it for 8th grade as well. So that's been kind of one of those surprises we've run into.
I would say access to adult experts. We see more and more kids reaching out to adults beyond their teacher for learning. There's an AP politics class that right now is doing this incredible project where they're like each of the kids that are running for office, and they're reaching out to all these different organizations that different adults are playing roles, and it's just a great opportunity for kids to feel like they can talk to adults beyond their teacher. That's been big for us.
I would say this change, I mean, look at all of us here. Think about, you know, we've all been in the game for a while. Think about how much your teaching has changed, how you interact with kids. You know, it's drastic. The collaborativeness, to be able to access anybody in the world, to be able to access advice and so forth. Whereas before it was, hey, call up, or hey, I heard rumors about this person over in here. You talked about this, who's doing something really cool over here. Now it's like, okay, well, there's a message where you can contact. We do that all the time. Now you contact another teacher somewhere else about something cool they're doing. You know, it's just
I would summarize it by saying that, you know, there's more emphasis on student-centered learning and project-based learning, and the flipped classroom. A simple example is because the student has a device that's accessible all the time, the student or the teacher is more willing to do a technology project because they don't have to sign up for a computer lab. Let's say they're doing a video. Okay, the kids have got to get a camera, they've got to load the video on the computer, they've got to edit on the computer, the video resides on that computer. Well, they all have an iPad, all has a camera, they all have iMovie. You know, it's very easy for them to collaborate on a project. They're doing, you know, just-in-time research in the classroom. They got a device there. They don't have to all go down to the computer lab. Okay, for 15 minutes, we're going to look up this and then discuss it.
Got one more?
Another question?
Yeah. The second most popular question?
Second most popular is, if you're a Chromebook school, what limitations have you experienced? You're a Chromebook school.
At first, we had a lot of teachers that were trying to do things that were Java-based online, and that does not work on the Chromebook. And so we had to find alternatives for them, and I don't think there hasn't been anything we haven't found an alternative for that a teacher was wanting to do. But that was definitely a little bit of a, you know, a shift at the beginning.
I would say in our district, video editing is probably the hardest part. Trying to find something that doesn't require use a lot of bandwidth. We try to use Beat Video. It's kind of a go-to thing for our Chromebooks. But when the kids are used to Movie Maker, it's just that environment. So I would say that's probably the most challenging application that we've found so far.
You know, we had the experience with Windows devices the first couple years on one-to-one, and then we transitioned over to the Chromebooks. So we kind of had that experience, and that transition has been nothing but positive. You know, at first, and still there are some teachers throughout the district, not just our high school with the one-to-one, still see it as a Microsoft Office world, and they're not, you know, fully embracing, Google Drive. But really, the high school teachers, for the most part, definitely the students, if we gave them a choice, they would pick the Chromebook over and over. It's so much faster. Everything's out in the cloud. Collaboration is so much easier. So, Ray, can you add anything? I can't say I've heard of a lot of
Yeah, so a lot of it,
limitations.
so a lot of it we've worked through.
Yeah, we found an app for that.
Yeah, I know, and Mike talked about earlier, we work with the teachers pretty closely on, hey, I want to do this, and we'll find something that's pretty close to it.
Yeah, it's just a shift.
Yeah.
Definitely say the video editing pieces. There are a lot of different, like video and a ton of other stuff, but having Chromebook and Macs, some of the power and software of Macs, that is definitely just a change. Because that's what Mac originally went into, is that creative piece on there with music and so forth. But give it time. It's only a matter of time before that changes. But it's kind of cool to have that blend, which is nice to have the Macs and the Chromebooks as well.
We see that with Adobe already. As Adobe moves into the cloud, that it'll be available for Chromebook even as a creator. Didn't they just roll out the Photoshop?
Yeah,
Photoshop
now
streaming.
available. So it's headed there. It's just about time.
Well, that's so true. Talking with our curriculum department and other, instructional coaches, people look at resources. We're telling them, whatever you look at, it's got to be, Chrome compatible. It's got to be Chromebook compatible. When I talk to vendors like, FILED or SysK12, et cetera, I always tell them, look at the market. Districts across the country are moving towards Chromebooks and Google, and any company, educational technology company that's not looking at, making their product compatible with Chromebooks, is going to be a dinosaur. So, it's helped. I think if we help push vendors to realize that, and a lot of them have.
And I think that the management piece of Chromebooks is just amazing. Your organizational units, and you can set preferences on so many things as far as management of apps and what you have to have management. So you're limitless without the OUs, and then you just drop your devices in OU and it takes on. That's one thing I'll say about Macs, is that it feels like they're making it harder and harder for Mac districts. Number one, because of the cost, but they're making it harder and harder to organize because they don't have a system in place like Chromebooks where you can manage it on the back end. And that's why, like I said, Google's taking over the educational role, because for some reason they've embraced it, whereas Mac's always looked at something as a retail device for the personal consumer out there.
So last question for the panel, and that is simply, what's next? Your
Clean
one,
time.
yeah, with your one-to-one environment, and I know we can't predict the future, but you got your crystal ball, near term, far term, where do we go from here?
I'll jump in because we're at that point where we're already looking at what happens next if funding goes away. I see that as long as our infrastructure is in place, we're to the point where we may transition into more of bring your own device, and we'll fill gaps with whatever the students don't have. We don't care. It's getting more and more where we don't care what you bring. We can manage the device. We can see the device on our network. The things that tech people worry about is, we want to know what's on the network. We want to know who's on the network, where they're going, and what they're doing, because we want to protect all of our work. And I see that as over the next year or two being a big change, which is, you spoke of Chromebooks. We were Windows. We adopted Windows 3 years ago. Today it would probably be a lot different because the feature of Chrome just come leaps and bounds. So, but we've got a good mix of everything as well.
The concept of student schedule is going to be a mess, right? Like when kids are actually in classrooms, when they're in classrooms with teachers that are actually facilitating that subject, when they're learning with a teacher that's in another state, when they're in another place, when they're having space to do their own learning. I think that's going to blow up in the next 5 years. We're going to have folks that are just going to say, like, our high school is going to be different than many, many others. And someone's going to say, like, so the idea of student schedule is going to be a big, huge mess. So so I wouldn't want to be the registrar or the head counselor somewhere. I have conversations all the time, like, so we get 94% attendance for this class if they get the, all that weirdness is going to get weirder and probably clean itself up after.
And kind of piggyback on what you said, one of the two schools actually moving south is moving next year to a flex mod schedule, which is not really anything new. That's been around for a long time, but in their model of that, and I would not be registrar, it's a nightmare schedule that everybody is different, but in the model of that is built in a lot of blended learning and online learning, which hopefully the guys.
Yeah. It's elected, so you don't have to say.
I think Bob and I just got back from Dell World in Austin, and the big thing they talked about there was the Internet of Things, where everything that you have is going to be an internet-connected device. We're already seeing that with Google Glasses, and smartwatches, and Fitbits, and you're just going to see more and more and more of that kind of stuff. And I think kids are going to want to use those things, in school. And I think as tech staff, we need to allow them to do that, and we need to be prepared for this huge influx of devices we're going to have. Not just one-to-one, but this kid's got 3 devices. This kid's got 6 devices. That's a huge amount of stuff that you have to be ready to take in and support at some level.
I think a big piece on the teaching level is going to be with all these students having these devices, multiple devices, is teaching them how to use those correctly across the board. Teaching digital systems, teaching proper search. It's not necessarily now as teaching as the district. It's like they don't have to know exact dates on every single thing. They have to know all these events. I think the bigger piece is, do they have the skills to be able to access and find that information quickly, and then be able to analyze it, figure out what's important, what's not important, and go from there. But the big piece is teaching it. I still, to this day, I don't agree, but give them the device and they'll go with it and they'll figure it out. Well, yeah, at the same time, give a kid a car and don't even teach them how to use it at all. You've seen the nightmare stories about that. The teaching, the big thing now is, and it's frustrating, is blocking. When you first get in one-to-one, it's like, man, how do we block all this stuff from them getting to it? Twitter and all that kind of stuff. I'm still frustrated with that. I say, open it, teach them how to use it. Teach them how to use it correctly. You're going to have those kids. They're going to go out there and do some things that they don't necessarily, you don't agree with. But that's the same as in any school. You're going to have those kids. You're going to go out there. We disagree with the behavior. They're going to do it. But if we look to teach it that way, we'd all be out of business. We need to teach them how to use it correctly.
I'm hoping that with our one-to-one, we'll have more opportunities for the teachers to teach with emotion, where more lessons, more activities that for kids. I personally believe the kids remember and kind of hang on to throughout their lives. Different events in school or different activities that involve either making something, being creative, or being involved in something that was emotional. To take things at a higher level, I'm probably older than most people in this room, but I can still remember being in 7th grade when the space shuttle blew up. It was something that was very emotional. And I started thinking of all the things I remember about being in school. It's really not the math lessons that we were doing and then handing to the person behind you in class. It was something that where there's emotion. So I hope at Orchard Farm that we have the opportunity where we kind of pride ourselves with our teachers, that they really, not that they become the kids' friends, because kids don't realize it at the time. They really remember it, 2-3 years down the road after they go to college, move on, how good they had it while they were here. And my hope that it would be that the kids realize that while they're here. So I'm hoping that what we're doing is a big culture change, and let's see what happens.
Well, the meeting's not over. But this panel is, so gentlemen, thank you so much.